Hi, my name's Keith Lybrand. I'm the youth pastor at Calvary Baptist Church in Henderson. This is another lesson in youth ministry. I've entitled today's lesson, How to Grow Your Youth Group. I kind of based this lesson off of the following question. It's like, so I'm a youth pastor, where do I start and how do I grow things? So let me give you and I want to say that a lot of the stuff I'm sharing with you is my experience, and it's, this is my opinion. This is just what I've dealt with. You may be sitting there going, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I'm okay if you feel that way. I'm just saying that this has been my experience in the 30-something years that I've done youth ministry. So an important kind of begin to this is that you need to remember this, and you can write it on something. If you're trying to grow your youth group, you need to remember the following statement. Put it in big letters on a board somewhere. Teenagers produce more teenagers. So I hear about this all the time. There's some small church in some community, and the pastor's going there and he's excited and he's trying to get things going. And my connection with TBI, I see this a lot. They want to hire a young guy from TBI to come be the youth pastor. And that youth pastor, that young guy, he'll come talk to me and say, Brother Keith, I'm going to go start. What do I need to do? And I'll be, first question is the question I'm going to ask you. How many kids do you have? And what blows my mind is a lot of times they have none or they have one, and he is the hired guy, the expert that's going to go in there with no kids or one teenager, and he's going to now build that thing into the mega church of teenagers where they, whatever their goal is. But I'm going to be honest with you, I think it takes teenagers to produce teenagers. So if you're in a church where you have like a 6th grade boy, an 11th grade girl, and maybe one 9th grade boy or something like that, building a live, thriving youth group is going to be hard. Now, if you're in a church that has 3 7th grade boys, that's something you could start with, because you got 3 people that are friends and they're close together, and man, you might could do something with that. But I feel for these young guys that are hired to go to a church to be the magic bullet that creates a youth ministry, and you don't even have a teenager in your church, man. That's a tough place to start. You really need some kind of foundation. A couple of lessons ago, I shared that when I went to California, there were a lot of fringe kids. They were kind of there, but I only had 3 to 5 really core kids. The beauty of that situation is most of those kids were about the same age. They were all kind of in the middle, and it was easy to build off of that, because as they started bringing their groups and friends, and as the children's ministry, kids started sticking because they were excited to come into the youth group. So anyway, we're just going to assume that you've got something to build on. You've got a few kids, they're kind of the same age group, they like hanging out with each other, and you want to get going. Well, first off, your youth pastor, if you think just bringing a youth pastor in is going to make that happen, let me just kill that illusion right off the bat. But we're going to say you got a guy, or preferably if I was in that situation, I have some adults from my church that want to take this on and do it. I think youth pastors farther down the road. But here we go. Step number 1, how do I grow this? Well, number 1, you need to find out what the group of kids that you have is into. Huge important. What are they into? What do they like? So that very first youth group that I had out in California with that handful of kids, they loved going to the beach and surfing. Well, if you know me, I'm not a beach guy. I don't like it, don't want to go. Kids on a beach, not the safest thing for a youth pastor. I mean, it's terrifying to have them, but that's the culture of Los Angeles. Everybody wants to go to the beach. I had some surfing guys that were fringers. They were some of those hang-arounders, but man, they were at the beach all the time. So for the first year or so I was there, I went to the beach twice a week in the summer with a van load of kids. And that number grew, and we had parties on the beach. We would roast weenies and do worship on the beach, and I did Bible studies on the beach. I hate the beach. But that's where they were at. And I will tell you, as the more we did on the beach, the bigger it got and the more it grew. Now, I know some of you guys are going to be in Arkansas or Texas and you're not going to the beach. But you need to see what your kids are into. If you've got 3 kids and they're all playing Little League Baseball, you need to be knee-deep in Little League Baseball. Coaching some Little League Baseball, going to a game, something, you need to be in it. You need to be involved in what they're involved in. If you've got 3 kids that are into comic books, then you need to take your youth group to Comic-Con or something. I don't know. You need to find what they're into, because the first steps of growing your youth group, if kids create other kids, then the kids that are creating that have to be excited. So you have to do stuff that excites them. If I had that group of kids that were into Marvel Comics or whatever, I might do a sermon series on superheroes, and we might have a night where I have them bring their best costume. I mean, I'm going to work around what they're into. Okay? Step number 2, make being in the youth group fun and awesome. Now you say, Brother Keith, you told me a video ago it shouldn't all be about doing fun stuff, that you have to have substance. Yes, you have to have substance, but that substance has to also be fun. Now I know you're like, this is getting hard, right? Youth ministry is tough. You've got to make a kid that is swamped and busy to want to take time out of his busy life to come show up to whatever you've got going on. Provide food. We do taquitos. I can buy 2 boxes of taquitos for $20, and I provide taquitos and drinks every Wednesday night. Come eat a taquito, whatever it takes to get them there. Hype is huge. They need to be excited about your youth group. When they're excited about your youth group, their youth group that they're attending, they will then bring their friends. That's how you grow the youth group. They bring their friends. If me, the new youth pastor, just goes down and starts hanging out at the high school, first, it's weird, and secondly, I don't know how me, the 30-year-old youth pastor, is now connecting with 15-year-olds at the high school. What I need is the 3 15-year-olds I have going, man, my youth group is awesome, it's fun, and they're bringing their friends. When their friends come, you got to connect with them. You got to make them feel like they're a part. You've got to make them important. You got to know their name. You got to ask questions about what they're into. You want to send them a card or something, let them know. If you find out their friend from baseball comes, you go to the baseball game, you find their friend's parents, and you go sit and say, man, you know how awesome it was having your son at our church the other night? This is what youth ministry growth looks like. It's a lot of work from the people at top, okay? It's a lot of connecting. It's a lot of putting effort into to food and things and activities that are related to the growth process. Not, and I don't want to contradict myself, I use the word activities. I'm talking more in that night where you teach, where it's teachable activities, like a lesson activity. Step 4, cast a vision for your youth group that the kids that are involved in it are invested in. Take those 3 kids and you look at those 3 kids and you say, guys, I want to build a youth group here. How many do you think we can have? And if they say, oh, I think we can have 15, you look at them and say, what about 30? How about we set a goal that we're going to have 30 kids here a year from today? And then for the next year, hey, we're pushing. And when you grow and you have 6, you say, we're closer. We're 24 away. We're almost there. And you keep it in front of them. And then as they grow and they do, say, look, I want to take you guys, and pull them aside and say, I pulled a girl aside last night. I have a senior girl. She's the key to every senior in my church at this particular point. She's encouraging and bringing. And I sat her down and said, I appreciate the fact that you're reaching out to your friends and making a difference. I see what you're doing. I acknowledge that you're doing that. And I did that not with just her, several. I try to do that on a regular basis when I see, encourage and point out when they're doing that stuff, because they build your youth group, not you. The way that you build it is making it interesting and loving and substance and an acceptable place and an environment for them to want to bring their people to. Involve kids in that process as much as possible. Students do the video in my church. I have a student greeter team. Students lead worship in my church. I have students working in our snack bar. I have a student who does photograph. I have a media team of students who take pictures and hang them on the wall. I have one that we did videos during the quarantine. I have a student that did all of my videos during the quarantine. If you've ever gone to a church and want to see some of my message stuff, CBC Henderson Youth is there. A middle school girl did all those videos. Use your kids. And then let me give you another thing, and a lot of preachers, youth ministers miss this, and it blows my mind. And I will tell you, if you miss this, it is evident. You let me go to camp with you and I'll know you missed this by the way your kids behave. Too many youth groups are not spiritual. Your youth group needs to be spiritual. A lot of youth groups have 40 or 50 kids, but zero substance. There's nothing there. They're just, the way they're cussing in the cabin, and they're acting like a fool on the court, and they're doing all these things, and they don't care, and they're laying all over each other. I mean, you have to develop spirituality in your kids. That's the goal. The goal is not to have a huge youth ministry. The goal is to reach a huge number of students for the kingdom of God. The goal is to grow students so that when they graduate high school, that Christianity is real to them on a personal level. We want to take the God of their mom and dad and transfer it into their personal God by the time they graduate school. You need to expect them to grow. You need to give them the truths that they need to grow and the substance that they need to grow. You don't want to build your entire ministry on just doing swirlies and messing and pranking each other at night. You want to build your ministry on the Word of God and the messages that are preached and the things that are going on. I remember a few years ago in the youth group, I was preaching like 10 minutes and we were doing all these games and stuff, and my numbers were getting a little weird, and I pulled a youth group together, involved them. Hey, what do you think's going on? And these kids to a whole told me I wasn't speaking long enough. I started preaching 30 minutes and we grew 25 kids. They wanted more. So kids crave substance. They want to be pushed. They want to be dedicated. They want to know how to live. They want more than just a bunch of silly stuff. I'll tell you, I don't allow pranks when I take a youth group. We do not prank at camp. It is understood before I leave, if one of my kids pranks somebody at camp, if they do something, throw a water balloon, mess with somebody's stuff, their parents will be called, they're sent home. They all sign a contract that they understand it. Wow, that's no fun. Why? You're taking the fun out of church. No, I'm making church about church. Well, that sounds boring. It is if you don't do it well, but it's not if you make church the exciting thing. My kids at camp a year ago, when everything was over, were asking, can we have another worship service where our people bring guitars? We just don't feel like, we want more. We want to worship more. We want to hear more word. This is what you're looking for. I'll leave you with the last thing. Energy is everything to kids. It's like a football game. You need momentum. When you get momentum going, you roll with the momentum. And look, if you start a program and it falls dead and nobody's buying into it, you kill that thing and start something else. If something accidentally happens and everybody latches onto it and they're doing it, you paint that thing up and you run with it as far as you can, because you be willing to change and mold to whatever's going on in your kids. Your youth group needs to look good, it needs to feel good, it needs to feel exciting. They need to feel like they're a part of something that is awesome when they go to church. Isn't that what an adult wants? To feel like their church is awesome? Well, students want the same thing. They want to feel like it was worth their energy. I had a youth pastor tell me, he was a national speaker. I was sitting in one of his workshops, and I think it fits to this real well. He said, if you're expecting 100 kids to an event that you're going to do, put 75 chairs out. I thought, wow, why is that? Because when that 100 shows up, you have to drag 25 chairs out, and in their mind, they're thinking, look how many of us came. This is so awesome. It's exciting. We had more than they expected, and it makes them feel like they were really part of something neat. Because that's what you want church to be. So I encourage you, how do you grow your youth group? You get consistent, you get after it, and you work hard, and you do your best to excite what you have. You build it through the kids you have. That's how you build it.